There has never been a better time than now to be yourself, to know your value, to harness that value as a gift to yourself and to others. Hello everyone, my name is Kofi Bamfo and welcome to my channel. Alright, so I'm going to tell a quick story, and I know you've probably heard this story before, especially if you come from a Judeo-Christian background. Don't worry, I'm not going to get all churchy on you, but I think this is a great example of how the negative and positive beliefs function. And being that story structure is built into our psyche, the best way to retain information is through story. Long ago in the Middle East, there lived a wealthy man named Israel. Israel, throughout his adult life, had 10 sons, and in the golden era of his 90s, he had 2 more sons, Benjamin and Joseph. We're going to focus on Joseph here. Israel loved Joseph, loved spending time with him, perhaps even more than he did than his other sons. The reason being is this: Joseph was more refined than his brothers. He had wisdom and character, and Israel saw that. And Joseph knew how to apply the wisdom he had through his skill set. This made Israel love Joseph even more, and his other sons, the older ones, began to take notice that their father was spending way too much time with their younger brother, and they interpreted their father's affection for Joseph to be a dissatisfaction for them. So they became very envious of Joseph, understandably so. They had a lot at stake inheriting their father's wealth, and the idea their father in his golden years would be spending so much time with Joseph put them on edge. What were they talking about? What were they discussing? Why were they spending so much time together? And what did this mean for me? And if I'm any one of the older brothers, I wouldn't know how to feel about this other than to feel jealous. It's as if he loves Joseph more than he loves me. And what fed into this jealousy, what gnawed at their insecurities, what made them doubt their self-worth, was that their father, with the precious time he had left on this planet, with his senile body and arthritic hands, made Joseph a coat of many different colors. He had never made us a coat. What, are we less than our brother Joseph? Are we useless in the eyes of our father? Are we insignificant to him? Does he not love us? They hated Joseph. To them, it would have been better if he had never been born. Then they wouldn't feel so worthless. They hated him. They could not find any kindness towards him. And whenever they saw him in that stupid coat, it reminded them of how unloved they felt, how insecure they felt. And what made them feel worse is this: Joseph had a dream that he would be greater than his brothers. He had a vision for himself that placed him above his brothers in preeminence, and he told them about it. Ouch. Of course, they didn't respond very kindly to him. In fact, they hated him so much they wanted to get rid of him. After all, they had already gotten rid of him in their hearts. As far as they were concerned, he was already dead to them. So there came a day his brothers were far away from home working, doing whatever it is that they do, mostly trying to get as far away from Joseph as possible. And on this day, their father Israel wanted to know what was going on with his 10 sons. So he asked Joseph to go and check on them, to see if they're good. So Joseph puts himself together, throws on his beautiful coat his father made him, and he goes looking for them. Now his brothers were in the field feeding a flock of cattle, and when they saw Joseph headed towards them in the distance, they conspired then and there that they were going to kill him. They said, "Oh look, here comes the visionary, the master of big dreams. Let's kill him, throw him in a ditch, and let's just say a wild beast tore him apart." But the older brother intervened, knowing he would have been held culpable, said, "Nah, let's not kill him. Let's just throw him in a ditch." So when Joseph finally reaches them, they rough him up, punch him in the stomach, and throw him in the ditch. Then they stepped away and had lunch. So while they were toasting to their accomplishments, a group of travelers found Joseph in the ditch, took him, and sold him to another group of travelers who took him to Egypt, where he became a slave. So while they're having lunch, pondering what to do about their kid brother, the thorn in their side, they come to the conclusion that yes, we're going to sell him to get rid of him. So after lunch, one of them goes to retrieve Joseph from the ditch. But once he gets there, of course, he's not there. So he goes back to tell his brothers that Joseph's not there, and they all panic. They take one of the goats they were shepherding, kill it, and dip Joseph's coat in its blood. They go back and tell their father that while they were headed home, this is what we found of Joseph. He had been marred by a wild beast, and this is what is left of him. And of course, their father wept and wept and wept for days. This is where we get the term scapegoat. When people are not willing to be themselves, are not willing to take action on their dreams, not only do they diminish who they are by devaluing themselves, but they project their insecurities onto others to kill their dreams. Like the 10 brothers, they had no dream of their own, no vision for themselves. And when Joseph spoke of his dreams, his vision for himself, it highlighted something within them. It magnified their shortcomings, their lack of self-worth, and they hated that about themselves. They hated him for making them feel that way, and they projected that hate by getting rid of him. So they believed they were worthless even before Joseph became a reflection of what was already in their heart. And instead of using that reflection to course correct, they chose rather to kill him. And instead of validating themselves, esteeming their own value, they sought validation at the expense of their father's death and their inheritance. When a person doesn't validate themselves, they will seek validation from friends, family, money, social media, men, women, anywhere and everywhere other than validating and approving themselves. This kind of insecurity leads to a polarized expression of the ego, and because they lack value in themselves, they will try to make up for it in an exaggerated way through self-aggrandizement and pretentiousness. They will embellish ideas about themselves. They will boast and brag in how they want to appear to others because they don't want you to know that deep down inside they truly feel worthless. So they will put on a front. They will constantly seek outside validation because they refuse to value themselves. You see the symptom of this when a person is very needy, constantly needing recognition, to be acknowledged, but they refuse to acknowledge the value in themselves. These kinds of insecurities will only compound negative effects in their relationships because they are dependent on others to give them value. This is why Israel had Joseph go and check on his brothers to see how they're doing. Because everyone needs to know they're validated. Everyone needs to know they're worthy. Everyone needs to know that. But the point is to know that. There has never been a better time than now to be yourself, to know your value, to harness that value as a gift to yourself and to others. Even though Joseph became a slave in Egypt, he didn't see himself as less than. He didn't allow his circumstances to diminish his dreams. He still valued and esteemed himself in spite of it all, because you can't see the light without the darkness surrounding it. So in the darkness, he cultivated his gift. He became an expertise in not only interpreting his own dreams, but the dreams for others. A person who values him or herself will see the value in others and help them see it too. A person who doesn't value him or herself will certainly devalue others, even violate them. Not only was Joseph sold into slavery, he was accused of doing something he did not do. He was accused of stealing from another man, something a person with value would never do. And even while he's in prison, he's unlocking dreams he saw in others. Even in prison, he's unlocking doors. Some people don't value themselves long enough to see their dreams become their reality. They're stuck at a job they don't prefer because they don't think their gift can sustain them. That dream sailed long ago. Now, I'm not saying quit your job, a place where you feel stuck, but even while Joseph was stuck in prison, a place of limitations, physical and financial limitations, he still cultivated his gift until his gift overtook his limitations and opened the doors for him. Cultivate your gift until your gift becomes your job, because we're all connected. And if you're not acting on your purpose, you're purposely depriving others from what you have to give. And that is a selfish thing to do. There will always be someone waiting to receive what you have to give, and to believe that you're not worthy to express your true self will always leave you stuck in what could have been, what should have been, you. It's like planting a garden. While the seeds are in the ground, germinating, fighting through the dirt to get to you, you're watering it, you're cultivating it. Until that garden can fully support you, you're still buying from someone else's garden. So Joseph walks out of prison because he interpreted the dreams of certain important people who were imprisoned with him and got out before him. And when the timing was right, the connections were made that needed to be made for Joseph to interpret the dreams of the king of Egypt, Pharaoh. So not only did Joseph's gift open the doors from a place where he was stuck, it opened another door of wealth, power, and expansion. He became the king's right-hand man and governed all of Egypt. His gift introduced him to the king. His wisdom got him the job. Wisdom is simply knowing that you are deserving to be your authentic self. That is the wealth. That is the power, and that is the expansion. The gift is you. My name is Kofi Bamfo. Until next time, be well.